This is the DoubleAABalls podcast with your hosts Anthony Rinaldi and Andrew Romanella. The show starts now.
It's a new day, bro. I'ma put it on my day. Gotta do it now.
All right. This is the DoubleAABalls podcast. We are excited to be back talking with you. I'm Andrew Romanella, and I'm alongside my man, Anthony Rinaldi.
Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing good, Ant. I'm doing really good, and I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? Because there's a lot of sports to talk about. It's a good week. It's Super Week. Super Bowl 52 coming up the end of this weekend. We had the MLB Hall of Fame voting. We've had some trades. We've had a few signings in the MLB. The NBA had their draft, their picks, which wasn't televised, which we'll get into a little bit later in the show, for the All-Star game. And then we got Super Bowl 52 coming up. And then, of course, we always finish it off with, what do you got? And we got a good show lined up for you. And we're starting with the Hall of Fame because I'm a baseball guy. You know that, through and through. And I love what happened with this weekend. 4 guys got voted in. I thought they were all very deserving. And I'm excited because I think baseball got this vote right.
Let me tell you, Chipper Jones, Jim Thome, Vladimir Guerrero, the Impaler, and some guy named Trevor Hoffman got in. Do you agree with those 4 selections?
I agree with all 4 of them. And I know Chipper Jones was the first year on the ballot this year, as well as Jim Thome. And I think both were first ballot deserving guys. Chipper Jones is arguably the best switch hitter in MLB history. 468 home runs. He has a 300 batting average. He's got over 1,600 career RBIs. I mean, from both sides of the plate at that level, he's got a World Series with the Atlanta Braves. He made the Atlanta Braves who they are.
2+ decades of destroying your Mets.
Dude, his daughter is named Shay. I think it's his daughter is named Shay because he was so good against the New York Mets. He named his daughter Shay. That's the world that I have to live in, my man. And that's a tough place to be. But back on track with the guys that are the greatest in the league. Right? There's one conversation that has been swirling around this vote. And it's not the 4 guys that got in, but it's primarily the 2 or 3 guys that didn't. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Edgar Martinez. 2 of which are in a different category than Edgar Martinez. 2 separate conversations. One side of the fence. Steroids. You tell me, Ant. Should Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens be in the Hall of Fame?
At this point, I mean, this is going to be discussed year in, year out. They keep creeping up the ballot. I think they're, 57% now?
56 for Bonds, 57 for Clemens this year.
There you go. I love Roger Clemens, that knucklehead. Love throwing bats at people. Why not? But, I mean, I can't see it happening. I guess maybe in a few years. How long do you get to be on the ballot?
10 years. So you're on the initial ballot for 10 years. This was their 6th year on the ballot. They have 4 more remaining. There is something, I believe it's called the Veterans Committee, that you can get on later on after you've expanded your 10 years on the initial ballot. And there's some guys out there, Tim Kirchin's one of them, who I believe his word is 100% at all times for as long as he's been doing it. And he's talking about how he thinks that in the next 4 years there's a chance. Every year both guys have gone up in the voting. Their percentage has gotten higher. The bottom line is, are these guys that believe they're almost the quote-unquote gatekeepers of the Hall of Fame and keeping it pure, and the fact that these guys did steroids. And you're telling me that there are guys in the MLB Hall of Fame right now that didn't do steroids? We know there are guys that did other drugs. There were guys that were heavy drinkers. There were guys that were taking ADHD pills prior to games, greenies as they might call them, especially back in the day. These guys are in the Hall of Fame, and you're going to tell me that Barry Bonds, who, take away what his body transformed to, who has never tested positive for a steroids test.
Barry always seemed to be the exemption. He always seemed to be one step ahead of the testing by MLB. First with the cream, and then he started taking the Balco, and how that was always an MLB investigation and whatnot. I don't see them getting in the Hall of Fame. I can see maybe down the road a Veterans Committee, maybe separate wing, put an asterisk at the Hall of Fame. Because when you put their numbers up there, I mean, it's hard to, steroids are not, when do you know when they were on it? It's like A-Rod,
Here's my argument, okay? And I agree that there's it's a cheating element, yes. But put yourself in the 80s and the 90s, and even the early 2000s, right? Put yourself at the time period, and you're looking around and you're going, look at all these guys around me that are taking this stuff, that are beating me, being better than I am, breaking records, and making a lot of money in the process. How are you not? Because Major League Baseball turned its back to the problem. Everybody else in baseball turned their back to the problem. GMs did. Everybody that had the ability to stop this then didn't, because they saw the benefits and the growth of baseball. I mean, you had home run derby after home run derby that people were watching. The 162 game season turned into how many home runs can 3 or 4 individuals hit every single year, and are other records going to break? And that's why baseball is where it is today, and that's the tough part of the conversation.
Let me throw it back to Hall of Fame. How about to some of those pitchers that missed out? Mike Mussina, Curt Schilling, the bloody sock. I hate that guy, though.
But here's the thing. Does your Hall of Fame... Now, and this is really your own opinion, but do you believe that a guy that succeeded majority in the playoffs and not in the regular season, so in the whole of his career, the body of his career, it may not look as good as some guys, but his playoff success was 10 times better than most? Do you believe that guy's a Hall of Famer? The guy that floats around it? Because think about it, right? And I'll have to look up Curt Schilling's stats. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know that his playoff record is great.
Can I tell you what his stats are?
Yeah, you can.
I already know.
Get in here.
Because, like I said in the beginning of this podcast years ago, we started 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I'm a sports junkie.
21 days.
When I hear a dumb stat or a quirky stat, it goes in the memory bank, and for some reason it stays there.
So give it to me.
10-2 postseason stats.
All right.
With a 2 ERA.
All right.
That's pretty damn good in the baseball circles.
So now, but that's my question. Do you believe that's a Hall of Fame record, stat, whatever you want to call it?
I don't know. I mean, there's compilers in the Hall of Fame, but you know what? I don't think. What do you have? I think 212 wins overall. I mean, Mussina had 272. I mean, that's 60 more wins.
See,
these guys were and Mussina did it in the ML in the East.
At least his whole career. I think Mussina should be in. I think they both should be in. I do believe postseason success is equally as important as the whole body, including the regular season, because that is where legends are made. This is what Johan Santana is dealing with right now. Johan Santana was a fantastic pitcher in the major leagues for his 13-year career. And everyone knows the story of the no-hitter with the Mets. But what postseason success does he have?
Well, he's on the Mets.
How much
postseason success could you have?
It's a very good point.
Go back to '86.
But not just the Mets, because he spent most of his career on the Minnesota Twins, right? But think, and that proves your point as well. But think, and maybe that's a bad example, but there are other guys like that where you look at the regular season and say, man, that guy dominated. But you don't really remember him because he didn't do much in the postseason. You remember Curt Schilling, you remember Mike Mussina, and you know what? You, as a Yankees fan, probably remember Edgar Martinez, who's another guy that's getting snubbed from the Hall of Fame.
Edgar Martinez, that dude, he changed the DH. He killed the Yankees.
How's that guy not in the Hall of Fame?
Mariano Rivera couldn't even get that guy out. But let me ask you a quick question about Hall of Fame down the road. Derek Jeter. Derek Sanderson Almalfa Jeter.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
He's another one who had a lot of postseason success, a lot of postseason moments. The flip, I mean, talking about Curt Schilling with his 10-2 record in the postseason with a 2 ERA. It's not. I mean, obviously Derek Jeter is one of my favorite Yankees of all time.
I'm going to make the argument for Derek Jeter. He's a career .310 hitter. Okay, he's got 3,465 hits. Everybody believes, much like the 500 club for home runs, once you eclipse that line, you are almost an automatic shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. Okay? But, add on top of that, 1,923 runs scored. Nearly a 2,000 run scored. For a guy that was not that fast. And this man had over 111,000 at-bats in his major league career, and he found a way to be a 300-hitter career. I don't think people realize how hard that is. And you know what? And you know what people probably don't give him credit for? The man stole 358 bases in his career. Did you know that? No one knows. And he's a quick guy, not a fast guy, but that's how smart of a baseball player he is. And, oh, by the way, was probably one of the better fielders you've seen come across the shortstop position for a guy that had a below-average arm, if not average arm.
Oh, I love that. Grab it, backhand, flip throw, jumps into left field. Oh, that was the best.
So, in my opinion, Jeter, in. Edgar Martinez, in. Schilling, in. Musina, in. I'll tell you what, if we had a Hall of Fame, we induct 8, 9, 10 guys a year. And I know, and I do understand that there are certain points of that have to stay, and it is for the deserving. Now, let's bring it to the guys that are playing currently now. And you talked about Derek Jeter. We flipped to the Miami Marlins, and he's the exact opposite. He's trying to build the worst team in Major League Baseball. So what that meant was fire sale. First you see Giancarlo Stanton go. Then you see Marcell Ozuna go. Now you see Christian Yelich go. D. Gordon signed with the Seattle Mariners. They trade Christian Yelich to the Brewers for 4 prospects since the last time I talked to you. And Lorenzo Cain also decides to sign with the Brewers, 5 years, $80 million, leaving the Royals and taking some money. Milwaukee making some moves since the last time we talked.
I feel bad for JT Realmuto.
I do
mean, that
too.
dude wants out of Miami. Probably the only person I know who wants out of Miami.
Let's talk the Mets. This is where the New York Mets, and what do the Mets do? What did the Mets do in the last 6 days, Ant? They signed Jose Reyes for 1 year, $2 million. And here's the reason.
Bargain
Because
basement.
he played multiple positions last year, and he's not going to require, to your point, a lot of money. So the Yankees trade for a guy arguably they probably didn't need on their roster, but were able to acquire because, well, they're the Yankees. And the Mets re-signed Jay Bruce, which I'm not mad at. But then they go out and say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and get Jose Reyes because he's really going to solve some problems for us.
Why wouldn't you want to sign up for how many home runs did 59, 58? How many home runs did Stanton have last year?
59.
Yeah, there you
He's
go.
one away from 60.
Why wouldn't you want to sign that? You can always use that on your
Of
team.
course you can. Why wouldn't every team in baseball want to go after that, right? But okay, it's not just about Stanton because the Marlins did have a good offensive unit, and that included the guys I just mentioned. So now Yelich is the next one to go. So now their whole outfield is cleared, and Lorenzo Cain is one of the better outfielders in Major League Baseball. He hit 300 last year. I don't think people realize how good Lorenzo Cain was last year. He's going to get you 300 every year, but the problem is, right, he's 33 years old. He swiped 26 bags last year. He had 15 home runs, only had 49 RBIs, so he's not knocking a lot of guys in. He scored 86 runs. Do you think, now I'm not saying that we're Milwaukee Brewer savants, but seeing 2 guys like that added to a team that was in playoff contention last year and finished a little bit below that wild card line, do you think 2 guys like that make that team a competitor in the NL? I
mean, sure, why not?
And they're in the Central. The Pirates didn't make the playoffs last year, and neither did the Cardinals.
Pirates are doing a fire sale too, right? They got rid of McCutchen. They got rid of Garrett Cole. I'm sure Harrison's going to be on the move soon. Yeah, he's talked about for the Yankees. Probably be a good fit for the Mets, too.
Great fit for the Mets. Another guy that they should be going after. And that's what's crazy about this market right now, because you look at guys like Hosmer and Moustakas, and they're still on the market. These guys haven't been signed yet. And it's almost like the GMs and the owners in Major League Baseball, when they got together at the winter meetings, they were like, hey, listen, we're not spiking this market. We're not going to go out here and give these ridiculous contracts. Now, I don't know if Kane's 5 years, $80 million is going to re-jump the market, maybe for outfielders, maybe for anybody. I don't know if that just happened because the Brewers made that move, but I think the Brewers just put a lot of pressure on other teams. I mean, Marcell Ozuna went to the Cardinals. They tried to re-up, but they've made some moves this offseason. So it's really interesting to see where Major League Baseball is shaping up right now, and because of this change in ownership with the Miami Marlins and because of this fire sale of all these really good, really talented players. I mean, Yelich was a 282 hitter last year and hit 18 home runs and 81 RBIs and probably was the best of the 3 defensively. I mean, all 3 got pretty good arms. Yelich is the speed guy. Ozuna can throw dudes out. And, I mean, Giancarlo Stanton does everything great. But this fire sale of the Miami Marlins is changed Major League Baseball, the landscape of kind of this offseason. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens this year because you almost look at teams like the Red Sox and say, you didn't really do much this offseason. Is that going to kill you because a lot of teams around you have?
Right. What's going to happen next, Andrew? What's the next chip to fall? I feel like all Scott Boras's guys are all sitting there waiting.
And I think it's got to be Hosmer and Moustakas. I think they're the two best left on the market. I think that those are the next two guys that got to go. And then Rio Muto is going to be traded from Miami. There's no way he's going to stay there. There needs to be a splash. There's a few teams out there. I mean, obviously, the Mets included. But people undervalue how important a catcher is in Major League Baseball. In baseball in general, but in Major League Baseball, you're dealing with guys that have egos, guys that believe they can throw the ball as hard as possible by everybody's bat at all times. Well, there's a lot of gut checks for a lot of young guys in Major League Baseball that just want to get up there and throw 98. Hey, 98 can be hit at that level. So you need other pitches. You need fastballs. You need changeup. You need curveballs. You need sliders. You need anything else that can get guys out. Catchers are the guys that are able to get pitchers to follow along with the pattern, make sure they're understanding what they're doing. Now, veteran guys are going to have that, but a lot of younger guys building a staff. That's why it was so important for the Mets. And again, I'm going to bring it back there, because they're the ones that are shining the most in this situation. To leave Travis d'Arnaud as your catcher is irresponsible for the New York Mets and Sandy Alderson, because you're not helping groom this young pitching staff the appropriate way. You need to get a veteran guy in here, a guy that's a good defensive catcher, that can save them some pass balls, that can steal them some strikes, that can go out there and tell them they're doing things wrong, etc., etc., etc. And the Mets don't have that right now, and that's the problem.
I feel like they let every good, decent veteran catcher go. Jonathan Lucroy.
Right.
You're a great pickup for the Mets.
What are you doing? Why aren't we getting Jonathan Lucroy? Why aren't you going out and getting a guy like that? And from your Yankee standpoint, right, from your Yankee side of things, that was one of the biggest critiques with Gary Sanchez this last season. He's not doing a good enough job defensively. They said Joe Girardi handled it in a really stiff manner, and that's probably why he might have lost the locker room in a way.
I know when he lost the locker room, Coach.
Tell me.
Brian Cashman told me. No, he didn't tell me. My guess is when apparently I heard a story, probably on ESPN Radio or something. Got to give them credit, maybe. But it was that Brian Cashman didn't want to bring up Gleyber Torres. Joe Girardi wanted him. He said, "Bring up the kid. We need the kid. Let him play. Let him play. Let's see him. Let's see what he's got." And that wasn't the Cashman plan. And that was way back in training camp, in spring training. So right there, the writing was on the wall for Joe Girardi. Cashman wants to run the ship, so he hires Aaron Boone.
And more of a player's guy, Aaron Boone. I think that's the thought process.
Right, because Girardi's a catcher.
Yes.
So he's going to try and teach.
And he's going
to have a tough eye on Gary Sanchez.
He sat Sanchez down.
He's going to have a tough eye on him because that's the position he played.
Absolutely.
And Joe played it pretty well.
And that's
Joe was never the bat that Gary is and is going to be, but Joe was a defensive catcher with a good arm.
They say catchers make the best coaches because of that, because they see the game. You are, as a catcher in baseball, you are seeing the entire field. You are the voice for a lot of people.
I think podcast hosts make the best coaches.
I appreciate that. You're a gentleman for that. And you know who I think make the best coaches? LeBron James and Steph Curry for the NBA All-Star Game. And I know we got a lot of baseball in right there, but I need to ask you about this because you're a basketball dude and the NBA matters to you a lot, okay? Did NBA drop the ball not televising the All-Star draft between LeBron James and Steph Curry?
Well, come on now. It's 2018. These guys don't want their feelings hurt. They can't have a live draft. What if you get picked last? You're going to start crying, you're going to start bitching. Why did I get picked last?
Right.
I'm better than this dude. I'm better than... So, of course, they have to do it behind closed doors. Sure, they could have televised it. They could have done something nice. LeBron could have hosted it. Maybe at a Boys and Girls Club. Could have thrown a little money to the kids.
Hey, he did it when he wanted to make his decision.
Right.
Well, why not do it when you're doing the draft?
That's all about LeBron.
That's true. You're right.
I mean,
the people. It's LeBron.
I think it's going to be... I think me and you should pick NBA All-Star teams.
You know,
head to head.
That's a great idea.
For that big matchup.
Well, the game's on February 18th.
We got time.
So we have a little bit of time, but I do agree. In one of the next two shows, all right, so here's what we're going to do. There's 24 guys, all right? Team Rinaldi versus Team Romanella.
I'll take 12. You take 12. Quick math.
Genius. Okay, you take 12, I take 12. Are we going snake draft, or are we going regular 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 draft?
Why don't we make it a little interesting? Put a little coin on it.
Okay. What are you thinking? What do you got in mind?
Did you ever hear this thing called FanDuel or DraftKings?
I have. I do have a FanDuel.
I have a FanDuel as well.
Okay.
So we'll pick the teams based off the salary cap, and we'll go head to head, me and you.
I like it.
For little hairs. How many hairs do you want to do?
I like it. Let's go with 20 bananas.
Sure. 20 spot.
20 bananas.
20 spot. Man,
You know what that is? That's 2 ref fees on Monday.
Perp squad. Monday night.
2 ref fees on Monday.
We have black squads. I bet the Spurs tonight.
20 bananas. Yeah, I'm not even talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're leaving that one on the side. 20 bananas. 12v12. Team Rinaldi versus Team Romanella will draft the NBA All-Star Weekend, and out my team's total points versus your team's total points will determine the winner. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, we're in it. Hey, and before we keep going, though, Ant, we're going to let everybody know that DoubleAABalls has a Twitter and an Instagram. Yes, indeed, we do.
Social media blitz.
Tweet us. DoubleAABalls on Twitter. DM us. Slide in the DMs on Instagram. And remember, that's double 2 A's. Balls, because we got 2 goofballs in the seat right now, and Andrew Romanell and Anthony Rinaldi. So that's why it's the double. That's the A. Hit us on social media. We want to hear your feedback and let us know what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to talk about on the show. So last thing I got on the NBA. Okay, and again, I know All-Star Weekend's coming up, and there's a lot of good stuff going on, and we'll talk about it more in the What Do You Got? Okay, but I think we might have seen a preview of the NBA Finals, or a high probability it's the NBA Finals in the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics the other day.
What do you got? That's what I called. I think I nailed it right on the head.
And you were right.
That was the better of the games between that and your Nashville Predators. Devils game.
That's the truth.
Just because the hometown lost.
And that's your tease, because we're going to touch on it more in our What Do You Got segment sponsored by Hawthorne Glass. But did the game you pick show us a preview of what we might get in June?
I was deep in the game. I watched, like I said, I wanted to watch that backcourt matchup between Boston and Golden State.
LeBron tweeted about it.
I don't think
LeBron tweeted about your backcourt matchup. He tweeted about Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving. I think he did like the fire symbol or the eyes or something along those lines. Like I see you guys going off. I mean, Steph Curry in that game, 49 points, 16 of 24 from the field, 8 of 13 from beyond the arc, and Kyrie Irving, I mean, was just as good. 13 of 18 from the field, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc for 37 points. Their counterparts, Steph didn't even need Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson had 7 points. KD didn't have a great day. He was 7 of 19 from the field with 20 points. And I mean, Jaylen Brown, he threw in 20 for the Celtics, and Al Horford threw in 15. So really, it was Steph Curry against Kyrie Irving, and you couldn't have called it better. I really do think that might be a preview.
100%. I loved every minute of it. I love watching those two play. That's the future. They're both young guys. And you saw Steph Curry do it in crunch time.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter. I think he scored his 13 or 14 points the last minute and a half of the game.
Go ahead 3 with a minute 20 on the clock. And then 10 seconds later, dribbles it through everybody, lays it up for 2, gives them a 5-point lead in the span of 25 seconds.
I mean, they both got sick handles.
It's impressive. It's impressive, and it's fun to watch. And I think what's more exciting about this NBA season is the fact that it's not the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors destined to hit each other right now. There is a serious chance that other teams like the Toronto Raptors, other teams like the Boston Celtics, other teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves, I mean, the San Antonio Spurs, even the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are on an 8-game winning streak right now and are really starting to play well. They lost Andre Robertson, which is tough. But there are teams out there, the Houston Rockets, that could potentially come in and beat either A, the Golden State Warriors, or B, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and make it not be the 4th year in a row of the Warriors and the Cavaliers.
The NBA does not need another round 4 of Cleveland Golden State.
And
I personally don't see anybody in the West being Golden State, obviously, in 4 games.
I agree.
They may get a game or 2 if you're lucky.
It might go
Houston,
6 or 7.
I can see Houston getting 2, but that team is they're going to steamroll right to the playoff, right to the championship. But the East is definitely a lot more troubling. I mean, LeBron, he's got nobody. Right now, it's just him. You see Isaiah Thomas, he's coming back. He's playing a little more minutes, although he doesn't play in the 4th quarter, which is definitely an interesting dynamic that's happening with Ty Lue right now. But I like Toronto's game. DeRozan, once they get Lowry back.
DeRozan's the truth. Lowry's the truth. Serge Ibaka is a great defensive player. Serge Ibaka, as they called him when he was with the Thunder. I mean, yeah, you're right. There are legitimate teams out there, and I think the Golden State Warriors and the Cavaliers trend could be broken this year. And you know what else, Ant? You know what else could be broken? Your windows, your doors, a lot of other things in your house. And you know who we have for that, Ant?
Tell me.
We have Hawthorne Glass. Have you been looking to fix that broken tabletop or enhance that dull picture frame? Perhaps remodel that bathroom with an elegant and beautiful shower door? Are you tired of looking through old, dirty thermo panes or windows? How about that broken or torn screen? Don't wait for the warm weather to upgrade. Take care of it now and be ready for spring. Call Hawthorne Glass today. 973-427-4344 and schedule your home consultation with Angelo, who has 3+ decades of quality service in the glass industry. They don't call Angelo the best in the business for nothing, folks. And if you want that property upgrade and you need that quality service from that man Angelo, you can depend on it at Hawthorne Glass. 973-427-4344 and schedule your appointment today. And when you do, use promo code DoubleAABall and receive 10% off your first purchase. Hawthorne Glass, Angelo, 973-427-4344. And it is Super Week, Anthony. It is Super Bowl 52. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the New England Patriots. You've been texting me for about 7 days now on how you wanted to talk about this game and how you were disappointed that maybe last show we didn't get enough on this game, right? So here, I'm the point guard. I got the basketball. I've crossed half court, okay? You're flying down the backside. I'm alley-ooping this thing, and in the imaginary world, you can slam it down. I want your 2 keys to this football game and what you believe are what we probably need to be looking at as this football game moves forward.
I'll give it to you straight, simple, easy. It's the Philly D versus that Pats O, man. I mean, you got to see what that front 4, although some may say that front 7 of Philadelphia is pretty nasty and can get to the quarterback and hit Tom Brady.
The Eagles don't have one pass rusher that's in the top 5 in sacks in the NFL. That means, to your point, 7 different guys can rush the quarterback. They don't have just 1 or 2 guys that can get to the quarterback. They have 7. 7 different guys. You're 100% correct.
And you saw that. That's kind of the pedigree or the manual on how you beat a Bill Belichick, Tom Brady team. Because obviously you got to knock Tom Brady on his ass and hit him multiple times. You can't just do it once, twice, maybe 3 times like Jacksonville tried. You got to keep putting him on his butt. But then you'll see an adjustment from Bill Belichick because
Always
Jacksonville did that.
Always at halftime.
And you saw they started breaking it down with those little dinks and dunk passes and no huddle.
The Patriots are the best halftime team in the league.
So my philosophy is, yeah, you can keep punching Tom Brady in the mouth, you can keep knocking him down, but you still have to cover. And that's kind of, I kind of want to see a little sneak preview into my Whataya Got player. I want to see number 80. I want to see Edelman. I want to see what he's going to bring because he brought it in the AFC Championship game. He did a little bit of everything.
And he hasn't been healthy all year.
And as soon as Gronk goes down, the offense goes right.
Danny Amendola, Dion Lewis, these guys are the guys that need to step up, and they do every time. And to your point, right, and I think that is a great point about the halftime adjustment from the Patriots. They're so good at it, man. They are so good at going in at halftime, recognizing what you're doing well, and making that adjustment. And that's what scares me for the Eagles, right? So you noted the D versus the O, Philly's D line versus the offensive line of the Patriots, and making sure Tom Brady stays on his ass, okay? Nick Foles has to play a perfect game. No?
Ideally, you need...
No turnovers. You can't.
Yeah, you can't give... you can't give the Patriots a short field. And B, Nick Foles, if he turns the ball over, that's recipe for disaster. Because, I mean, Nick Foles played almost perfect game. Well, at home. The Eagles were always at home when Nick Foles played those perfect games.
That's a great point, man.
Except the Giants. The Giants game. I mean, that was like a...
But still,
I-95 game. All the Philly fans came down.
But still, he's been in Philly. You're right. He's been and more importantly, the 2 playoff games. He was in Philly. And I think you're right about that, and traveling and being in the environment. And you know what? And I think the Eagles have played this underdog game, right? But I think you made a point, and I want to touch on it, okay? You made a point about the turnover differential. In the career of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, their record when they win the turnover differential in a football game, including the playoffs, is 159 and 15. 159 and 15. That is mind-blowing. And it all comes back to the ability to adjust in game. In every Super Bowl that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have been in, they've never scored in the first quarter. They've never scored in the first quarter. So you put that together. So the first 30 minutes of the game, essentially, especially in the Super Bowl, but in crunch time, in most football games for Belichick and Brady, is we're seeing how our game plan works, and we're seeing what they want to do. So we're going to take that first 30 minutes, we're going to see what they want to do, we're going to see how our game plan works. Then we're going to go into halftime, and we're going to come back out in the next 30 minutes. You just don't have a chance. So it's either you've built a 40-point lead, and maybe that's what wins you the game, or we're probably going to come back on you, because this is a point where numbers don't lie. 159 and 15, that's an unbelievable winning percentage. When you win simply
is that
the
like
turnover,
94?
Something like
94%.
that. And that's simply winning the turnover differential, man. That's simply winning the turnover differential.
Well, you saw against Jacksonville when Deion Lewis fumbled up. Was it Deion Lewis or wait? I don't remember. Either way,
It was Deion Lewis. You're right.
they fumbled it. Jacksonville goes 3 and out. No harm, no foul.
Right. Because somehow they know, and I think this is why Matt Patricia got so many opportunities to be a head coach in the NFL moving forward, is because he finds a way. Listen to this. He finds a way to make his teams great, right? No matter how poor they may actually be as a whole. This season, the New England Patriots were 29th in total defense, 30th in passing defense, and 20th in rushing defense. And they're headed to the Super Bowl. On the flip side, the Philadelphia Eagles were 4th in total defense, 17th in passing defense, and 7th in rushing defense. Think about that.
That's a hell of a stat. Like I said, Philly D, I mean, they're going to have to bring it. Because they have playmakers all over the field. Because you don't know if it's coming from. I guarantee you Rex Burkhead is going to have a huge Super Bowl. Why? Because he didn't play at all playoffs.
Yes. 100%.
Bill Belichick he'll find a guy in the crowd.
5 carries. He's going to have 5 carries for 17 yards and like 3 receptions for 27 yards and like 2 touchdowns. That's what Rex Burkhead's line is going to be. It's going to be something like that. They're going to rush something weird for like 87 yards. Brady's going to throw for like 337. He's going to have 2 TDs. Maybe he has 1 interception that happens in the first quarter, right? He'll have 2 or 3 TDs. It's the same story. Is this Eagles team good enough to actually break the script of what's happened over the course of the last decade and some?
You know what? It's going to come down to health, I think. Is Gronk's in and out of protocol? I think he's out of the protocol now, concussion protocol.
They said if they played the Super Bowl this weekend, he wouldn't have been healthy to play.
Right, yeah. I mean,
that means it's a bad concussion.
Yeah.
And again, you mentioned it. We talked about it last week, about what we saw when you saw him stumbling off the field. You saw what his face looked like. It didn't look good. It didn't. And so that's a case where you're lucky the Super Bowl's 14 days away from the championship round instead of 7. Because now you have a chance to get Gronk back. And you and I both know, man, that is a difference maker for the New England Patriots.
100%. You can't guard him. You put a safety on him, he's just gonna box him out, throw it up, he's just gonna catch it.
He's bigger than everybody.
You can't put a linebacker on him, he's too quick.
No.
He's gonna run right past him.
Yeah.
He's gonna out-muscle him. So, I mean, only way is to knock him out, hit him in the head. No, don't do that.
That's no.
Never want to see an injury.
That's what we're getting away from.
Love my dude Gronk.
That's what the XFL. Oh gosh.
Shout out.
That's what the XFL is saying is going to be different. So instead of how violent it was last time, it's going to be safer and more family friendly than the NFL is. But that's a discussion, man. That's a road, and I don't even want to go down because that's 2 years away, and who knows if the XFL even happens. And I got some fun stuff for you.
We'll come at you in 2020 when it opens.
Right. If it opens. I got something fun for you, Ant. Okay? How about these similarities? Doing some research. How about these similarities? So the Eagles have been to 3 Super Bowls. Okay? This is going to be their 3rd Super Bowl. In 1980 and 2004, listen to these similarities. As this season, 2017's team. All 3 of those teams started 10-1. All 3 teams were top 10 defense and offense in the NFL. All three teams lost their last game of the regular season, and all three teams beat the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs. Is that nutty or what?
Pure coincidence. Adrian.
That's the Eagles.
Pure coincidence. No,
but
wow, those are stats.
Is the third time the charm. This is the third time the exact same script has played out for the Philadelphia fan base and this organization. Is third time the charm. Does Nick Foles, Alshon Jeffrey, and the boys have
your
the
boy
ability?
Jay
Jay, LeGarrette Blount. Do these guys on offense, Fletcher Cox, Chris Long, their defensive line, do they have the ability to beat the New England Patriots? Are they going to be the third time's the charm for the Philadelphia fan base?
Shout out Chris Long. I think I saw somewhere, I read somewhere, he did something super awesome. I think he gave his
entire
salary.
Every paycheck this year went to schools in Charlotte, North. I believe it was Charlottesville. Went to Charlottesville to help fund schools and educations for kids. And I think that how that guy isn't the finalist or potentially the winner of the Walter Payton of the Year, I think it should be a duel this year. So many NFL players did a great job that the Walter Payton Man of the Year award should probably be divvied up, and we can go into that conversation, next week when we find out who wins it. But I think that's just a side note that's important, and I'm happy you brought that up, man, because Chris Long and J.J. Watt, but they both and a few other guys, they deserve a lot of credit for what they do and what they've done this year in the community.
Right. I don't want the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, man.
You can't because you're a Giants fan.
As a Giants fan.
This has been a debate all week.
I just want to just go down as a team that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick can't beat.
0-2 versus the New York Giants. That's it. That's all you want.
I have some Philly fan friends that they drive me crazy. That whole environment of Philadelphia, those fans are knuckleheads, punching horses and doing dumb shit.
They are wild. Well, that's what I hear a lot.
I don't want them to win a Super Bowl. I don't think I want them to win just because I don't want them to taste that.
I'm not going to lie.
I don't think they deserve it.
If they do win...
snowballs at Santa Claus and batteries. Come on, man. That's Santa Claus.
That's bad.
That's Santa Claus.
If they do win the Super Bowl, though, I'm not opposed to wanting to go drive down to the Super Bowl parade and just be a spectator of the Super Bowl parade. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't... Because for me, listen, I don't want the Patriots to win. I'm tired of them winning. They've been dominating the AFC East for the last 15 years. I'm over it. I'm ready for them to start losing. I'm ready for the bad things that happen to every other organization to happen to the New England Patriots. So for me, now listen, I'm not a big Philly fan either. I don't like the Philadelphia Phillies because I'm a Mets guy. I don't like the Flyers because I'm a Devils guy, and I just hate the Flyers. But whatever. But I don't necessarily like Philly either, but if I have to choose one of the two, I'm going with the Eagles. And and as a guy that doesn't necessarily have a dog in the fight, I wouldn't mind being on the Rocky Steps, checking out the parade, seeing what's going on, and just being a guy watching all these nut jobs climb poles and drive dune buggies up the steps and destroy the city of Philadelphia, which is one thing I never understood. Why do people destroy things when they win and they're victorious? They destroy their city that they're so proud of rooting for when they win and they're victorious. I don't understand it.
Yeah, because it never comes around. You just get crazy.
Is it the same thing as when you cry when you're happy or you can cry when you're sad? Right. I mean, is that the same thing?
Sure. But let me flip it on you.
Okay.
Let's say Tom Brady and Belichick win another one. Maybe it's over. Maybe the dynasty ends. Maybe Belichick rides off into the sunset.
8 Super Bowls, 10 appearances.
And finally it can be done.
Okay.
Because they're losing both coordinators. They're not going to do it again.
Do I want him to be the Dolphins head coach? Is that what you're going to ask me?
You're firing
Adam Gase already? No, I like Adam Gase.
I think all the positions have been filled by coaches. So right now, Bill Belichick would have to retire because I think he's under contract.
Technically, the Colts is the last one left, but Josh McDaniels, to your point,
obviously,
going there.
But I think I'd wait if I was Indianapolis. Just say, is Belichick here? Is he retired?
Yeah, why not? Let me see. Flip it on me. What do you got? What do you got for me?
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe that's it. Calls quit. Finally, the dynasty's over.
So you think
if they win it all, that's it.
Maybe he just says, "I'm done." And do you think it rides off into the sunset retirement, or what you were mentioning before? He just wants to go to another team and try it somewhere else.
No, I think at this point, I mean, obviously he's a football lifer. He's a junkie. He eats, breathes, and sleeps football.
I just don't think he could stop coaching until something happens where he just doesn't make the playoffs one year. See, I think I've always said to myself, I expect Bill Belichick to retire and be done coaching or be done with the New England Patriots when he loses in a season and doesn't make the playoffs, or makes the playoffs, doesn't win the AFC East, and loses like in the wild card round of the first weekend of the playoffs, I think he retires that year because maybe he sees the writing on the wall. Could be a downfall in the Patriots, and he always wants to be on top when he goes out, which every athlete and every competitor wants to be on top when they go out, right? And the big question is, who can they come out on top in their 10th appearance in Super Bowl history, or the franchise's 10th appearance in Super Bowl in the Super Bowl era, and that's a record in the NFL. And I think that starts at the top. You made a comment, I think it was last week, about how, and correct me if I'm wrong, a fish head stinks from the top down. That was your wonderful grandfather.
Shout out Eladio. Rest in peace. Fantastic
man. And I think he couldn't be more right there. And I think you're seeing the reverse with the Patriots, where this is probably the strongest, most, the best tasting fish you could find when you're talking about the Patriots, starting with Kraft at the top, then bringing it down to Belichick, Brady, and where it branches off from there.
It's like a fine Chilean sea bass.
You're talking high price. 20 something.
They're filleting that right in front of you.
The eyes are looking at you.
I used to love that. Grandpa used to grill. He used to have the red snapper, the little eye jiggling. See, on the grill looking at you. I'm like, Grandpa, what is that?
I can't, man.
Then he'd chop the head off.
That's too much for me. That's too much for me. If my food is looking at me and it looks like it could talk to me, I'm out. See you later. I'm good with that. But that's the best way to describe what the Patriots are.
I don't think we're ever going to see another dynasty like that.
No.
Anytime soon.
I don't think so either. I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Yeah, I mean, you see teams go through it. They win back. You saw what? I mean, you saw even hockey. The Islanders in the 70s with four?
Edmonton Oilers, same thing. With Gretzky, Mark Messier, and that team. You're right. You're 100% right.
The last time we saw back-to-back Super Bowl champs was just 2 years. Was back in 04-05. Was the Patriots.
And this is the second time. And you know who they beat to make it 3 out of 4 in 04-05? The Philadelphia Eagles. You know what the Patriots are going for right now? Winning their 3rd out of 4th Super Bowl right now. They did the same thing in 04 and they beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
Everything seems to align. Who do you think had a harder road to Super Bowl LAAB?
The Eagles. You don't even need to finish the question.
Why is that?
The Patriots had to play the Tennessee Titans at home and the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. Now, I know the Jaguars gave them a game, but the Titans and the Jaguars at home versus the Atlanta Falcons, with the team that just went to the Super Bowl last year, the NFL's MVP behind center, and the Minnesota Vikings, who were the #1 defense in the league. Now, they tore them apart.
Minnesota was lucky to even be there. Come on, they got the heaven play.
Tennessee was lucky to even be there. Jacksonville's quarterback was Blake Bortles. It's the same argument you're making for Minnesota. 2 great defenses, 2 quarterbacks. But if you take the 2 this season alone, you're taking Case Keenum over Blake Bortles. So, therefore, you win that. Okay, so do it that way. You take Case Keenum over Blake Bortles. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Okay. Therefore, there's the notch up in Minnesota. Now, who's the #1 defense in the league overall? The Minnesota Vikings. Who has the most sacks? Who's the best defensive line in that battle? The Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, point to Jacksonville. Who wins the cornerback battle? I'd probably argue the Jacksonville Jaguars do. I think Boye and Ramsey. Yeah.
That's going to be nightmares.
And the Vikings are talented, but I think those 2 take the notch. And then overall, I think who would you take in terms of a team that could go in and beat a team on the road? You take the Eagles with Foles, or you take the Patriots with Brady. You're giving the notch up to the Vikings as that being a more difficult game for the Eagles. I think the reason why the Vikings got blown out by the Eagles is because the Nick Foles was the unknown. And he was known, but in a Chip Kelly offense isn't run in the NFL. So if you watched a lot of tape on Nick Foles in the last 5 years, you watched him having a great year, 27 TDs, 2 interceptions in Philly under Chip Kelly, and then you watched him go to the Rams under Jeff Fisher and have 2 subpar years, and then have the Rams draft Jared Goff and him be out of there and re-sign with the Philadelphia Eagles. So for the Vikings, you really went into an unknown, and that's where you have to credit the Eagles. But to go back to the initial question and answer it, I truly believe with how good the Patriots are, the history of the Patriots and how good they are at home, Gillette, 7th straight AFC Championship game, going for another potential Super Bowl for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I mean, I'm saying the Patriots had the way easier path than the Eagles.
I can't wait till Sunday. A little Super Bowl
I'm
action.
excited.
You know what?
I'm excited. And you know what? And real quick, because I want to get a little bit deeper into Sunday, and part of that becomes who we pick and what do you got?
What do you got?
So before we get there, we're letting you know again. Tweet us, DM us, slide in the DMs, DoubleAABalls on Twitter and Instagram. Remember, that's double 2 A's, balls. And then take that same address, throw an @Gmail on the end of it, and shoot us some emails. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Feedback, questions, stuff to talk about.
Advertising.
Advertising.
Get on the advertisement chain.
Get on the advertisement chain. We would love some people to sponsor
Do you
some
want
things
thousands
for
of
the
listeners
show.
to hear this? They're going to hear this. Thousands.
Maybe
millions of people are going to hear this.
Who knows? You never.
You want your business name out there.
The sky is the limit.
I think Biggie said that.
He did. Sky's the limit, and you can't find. I don't know the words, but I know
I
the
would
beat to
stick
it.
to your regular
I'm gonna stick to my day job.
Coach.
Appointment. I'm gonna stick there. Well, you know what though? I'm also gonna stick to our favorite segment of this show, and that is, what do you got?
What do you got?
Before we move to the picks for this week, we're going to give you a little bit of an update on what happened last week, and it was a clear drubbing by Anthony Rinaldi of Andrew Romanella, who seemed to think that he had knowledge on what he thought he was talking about, but clearly just gave a complete stinker to the crowd. So Anthony goes 2-0 for the week. Andrew goes 0-2 for the week. Anthony is going to come in at 3-1 on the year. Andrew's going to come in at 1-3 on the year. So immediately, I have some catching up to do for the calendar year of 2018, which hopefully we can keep a lifetime What Do You Got record, because I think that would be a lot of fun. That would be the plan. So career right now, Anthony 3-1, Andrew 1-3. And just to recap on those picks, Anthony Rinaldi, Golden State versus Boston. We mentioned it before. It was a 109-105 Golden State victory over Boston. It was a back-and-forth game. At one point, Golden State had to come back from 9 down on Boston. The Boston Celtics scored 37 points in the first quarter of that game, but in the second and third quarter combined only scored 36 points. So Golden State did a really good job. He spoke about adjustments with the Patriots. Speak about the Golden State Warriors. They have the most comebacks by 10 points or more in the NBA this season. So they did it again versus Boston. You chose a great game. Your matchup was also great. You chose the backcourt of Golden State versus the backcourt of the Celtics. So I did a little bit of research for you. The backcourt, including Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson, totaled 76 points. I gave you Steph's total before, 49 points, 16-24 from the field. And the backcourt of Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford, who I included in the 3 for the Boston Celtics, totaled 72 points. I gave you Kyrie Irving's stat line before, 37 points, 13 of 18 from the field. I thought that was a great matchup. I thought it was a great game. And I'm going to give you a second to gloat in your own choices, because I really think you killed it this week.
Listen, sometimes even the blind squirrel finds a nut.
Good nut, big nut.
Just laying there right on the grass for him. But I was way wrong in the Minnesota Eagle game, so you win some, you lose some.
That's it.
But
I think just the way you looked at that game as a whole, though, from the outside looking in, you dissected it the right way and you found the right matchups. And they came out to function.
100%. And like I said, shout out Perp Squad Monday Night Basketball tonight. I'm a guard by nature.
And as an update, last week we lost. Played a good game, though. Played really well, mixed up our starting lineup, and found a way to play a really good red team, but ended up losing by like 4 points. You know who also lost? The New Jersey Devils, who I picked in my What Do You Got. The Devils versus the Predators. A big goose egg from the New Jersey Devils. 3-0 the Predators won. And I pointed out the matchup of the special teams, 6 in the NHL for both power play for the Predators and penalty kill for the Devils. And I pick out that matchup. And you know what they did for me? 4 penalty minutes for each team. And not one of the 2 penalties for either team mattered in the game and affected the outcome at all. So that's where you go up 2-0 and I go down 0-2. We're going to start here first because it's a little bit different this week, and we're going to What Do You Got with our game pick being the spread of the Super Bowl game. We're going to start with our top performer today. And so the question is simple. I'm giving it to you every week. You're prepared for it. This week's performer, the Super Bowl 52, what do you got? What do you got?
I got a simple answer for you. I want to say Rob Gronkowski. That's just too easy. Nobody likes to be easy. It's Monday, long week ahead before the Super Bowl. I want to watch, like I said when I teased earlier, I want to see what Danny Amendola
I like it.
brings to the table, because he did show up when it mattered. When the crunch time mattered, he did show up last week. Wes Welker showed up in, I think it was 07.
Against the Giants.
Or 11, whenever he dropped it.
11, it was 11.
11, Super Bowl, and he dropped that open. He was wide up. He catches that. They have that field goal opportunity. I think it's a different game, but...
And slot receivers for the Patriots historically have been difference makers in their offensive game plan.
But I guess I also have to watch out. I mean, if Hogan is Hogan going to be healthy? If Hogan's playing, I'm not sure.
It's a different conversation.
Right.
You're 100% correct. But the beautiful thing about Amendola, and I think that's a great pick, Ant, is he can break and find space on defenders in a lot of different areas, and he can run a few different routes on the route tree, and I think that's pretty impressive in its own right. And you mentioned Gronkowski's head before. I think he's going to be a full go in participation for this game, but I also think if he's not, or he has any issues, or he gets hit in the head, or he has to get limited in snaps in any way, Danny Amendola steps up into that role because he's been the guy that's been consistent for Tom Brady this entire season.
Have you seen this guy's stats in the playoffs?
Give it a minute.
I feel like a moron. I'm calling him like he's a sleeper.
He's got 18 receptions, 200 yards,
2 touchdowns. It's amazing,
right? Yeah,
that's retarded. That's amazing.
And I think that's why.
What have I been watching? Why am I calling him like he's a sleeper? This dude shit. He better go off. I'm gonna give you a stat line too.
Give it to me.
I'm gonna give you the stat line. I'm gonna give you the score. I'm gonna give you my pick. I'm gonna give it to you all in one shot.
Tell me.
And we're gonna wrap it up.
Tell me.
New England Patriots 29-24. Super Bowl 52 winners for ring number 6?
Yeah. 29-24. Patriots over the Eagles. Danny Amendola.
He's going to have 10 receptions for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns.
10 receptions.
Write it down or remember it.
98 yards, 2 touchdowns. 29-24. Patriots beat the Eagles. What do you got? 2 timing it, Ant. And I like it. So you're going to take the Patriots. Give me the line real quick so the people out there know what the line is for this game right now. It's early, but what's the line for this game right now?
Opened up, I believe, at 5 or 5.5. I
think it was 5.5.
Way back when we podcasted 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And right now, I just happened to take a quick look at it because I have it handy. It's now 4.5.
All right.
Now, I don't know if that's with the Gronk kind of news about not playing. Is he playing?
And that plays into your 29-24.
Brady's hand is still a little messed up.
And that plays into your 29-24.
Is Hogan playing? Right. So that's why when I first saw the spread at 5, and you look back to all the Super Bowls that New England's played in, all 447 of them, within 3 points.
You're spot on.
So you would think I would take the Eagles and take the points.
Yep.
But I want to kind of jinx the logic because I just don't want to see Philly win.
All right. Well, I like it. So, I think those are 2
So right now
picks.
we'll call it a 4.5.
We're going to call it a 4.5.
Because we won't talk until after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we got to draw a line right today. It's New England minus 4.5.
For our show picks.
Our show picks. Minus 4.5 over under 48. Which Vegas thinks might be a high scoring Super Bowl. That's got to be a pretty high scoring Super Bowl.
I can see that.
What was Super Bowl 39? Do you remember?
I want to say it was 27-24.
I think it was 24-21.
24-21. It was a 3-point game.
So that's 45.
Yeah. I think it's right in that.
Last year's went over, right?
Last year's went over because
the
was
England came back from like 600. Yeah.
Exactly. And they were down by 25, so it had to be. But back to your point, I agree. The lines are interesting, and they're going to be ever-changing over the next 6 to 7 days. But I do like your 29-24 pick. What do you got? What do you got? I like it. Flipping the script on me, and I'm going to go somewhere slightly different here, Ant. I'm going to flip it to the Eagles, and not just because you picked the Patriots. Ooh. I'm going to flip it to the Eagles, and I want to go with Zach Ertz. Okay, I think Zach Ertz becomes a key player in this football game because Nick Foles needs a security blanket, and I know that the defense of the Patriots is not the best passing defense. They proved it from week 6 on. They never gave a 300-yard passer for a quarterback. They proved it after 5 straight weeks of giving up one. They proved it week 6 on. But to me, I still believe there are some weapons in Aguilar, Jeffrey, Ertz, LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi. I think there are weapons for Nick Foles to spread the ball around, but I think the bottom line is it might come back to Zach Ertz a lot, and especially if they get down. If they get down a little bit, and it becomes a little bit more of a pass-heavy attack, and they can't run the football with Ajayi and Blount, I think Zach Ertz, because they're going to look at Alshon Jeffrey and say, he's their biggest and their best and their tallest target. He's going to be the guy that we have to make sure we eliminate. We're going to want to make Nelson Aguilar beat us, and Clement, the third-string running back who catches passes out of the backfield. We're going to try and make those two guys beat us. We're going to try and take away their running game and their best receiver. Zach Ertz, who has not been a gigantic factor in the last few weeks since Carson Wentz gone down, because that was Carson Wentz's favorite target, I think is going to show up in this game and become a huge factor. And I'm also going to give you my score, Ant. I am. And you know what? Because I read all of those stats last night about the coincidences between all three Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowls, I'm going with a score of 24-21. 24-21.
So original.
Eagles lose to the New England Patriots.
Oh, but they cover for you.
They cover for me, but they lose to the New England Patriots.
I want to see that if your boy Zach Ertz has a big first half, I'm interested to see what the game plan becomes for Bill Belichick to take away Ertz, because you know he will. He's going to find whatever's beating him at the time.
And then who does it become after that?
Right, exactly. Your boy Aguilar's got it. Your boy Ajayi,
but that's
and Clement and Blunt, they all got to step up.
They have to step up.
Alshon Jeffrey, shout out Alshon Jeffrey, betting on himself, 1-year deal.
And then they signed him. They extended him about 3 weeks ago.
He's a stud, man.
They extended him, and he deserved it. And sometimes it's just a guy needs to get into an environment, and I think that was the environment for Alshon Jeffrey. So, hey, that was What Do You Got right there, Ant. That was What Do You Got. And
brought to you by Hawthorne Glass.
Hawthorne Glass, What Do YouGot? Great
Shout
segment.
Out Dad.
Here's the recap. Anthony goes 29-24. He takes
New
England.
Covering
Degenerates. The 4.5, which is the line we're using here, and he picks Danny Amendola. He says 10 receptions, 98 yards, and 2 TDs. We'll see if he's correct. I'm taking Zach Ertz as my performer. I'll throw my prediction out there. I'm going 6 receptions, 82 yards, and a TD, and a really good job of blocking throughout the game, but we can't really keep that stat. And I'm taking New England. I'm taking Philly to cover the spread, but I'm taking New England to win the game 24-21. That's What Do You Got? What Do You Got? Those are the picks. Again, tweet it, DoubleAABalls. Instagram it, slide in the DMs, DoubleAABalls on Instagram, or shoot it at doubleaballs@gmail.com. And I'll tell you what, man. This has been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying our time together on the podcast. I'm enjoying DoubleAABalls, and give the people your last comment.
It's a great day. Another great episode, Andrew. I appreciate the hospitality. Everybody out there, have a great week. Get on that daily grind. Get the hustle.
Enjoy this.
Move the week along. Sunday's going to come quick.
Send it out to your friends.
Tell your friends.
Tell your podcast to your friends. We'll promo the Super Bowl next week. We'll talk a little bit more MLB off-season tracker. We'll go into a few more sports, of course. This is Andrew Romanella. That's Anthony Rinaldi.
Have a good one.
We are DoubleAABalls, and we are out.